patchwork.
I know. Hey everyone! Alright, so yeah, it's been. I was ready like an hour and a half ago, but apparently my computer decided not to play nice. So, let me finish getting set up here. I have to reopen everything, and then we will be on our way. Okay, I don't want to hear myself, y'all. We gotta turn that off. Alright, that sound is off. Yeah, it should be better now. I shouldn't be echoing anymore. My sound was on. Because, you know, it's one of those days. My computer decided when I... What are you doing, Mouse? Mouse, what are you doing? My computer decided, well, okay, so I started and then it didn't want to start on your guys' side, but it started on my side, but I couldn't get it over, so the ingestion wasn't working. So then I restarted OBS, that wasn't working. So then I restarted my computer, and then my computer decided, no, it's still doing it. Okay, lovely.
Computer's doing updates still?
No, my computer is now echoing for whatever reason. I don't know why. Oh, hold on. Let me see if this works. Is that better? Am I done echoing now? I turned the gain down on my microphone. Hopefully that's better. Although it's not very loud. I don't know why it's not very loud. I even checked my sound, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully the echo is gone. Anyway, so I started and then it didn't want to start, so then I restarted my computer, and then my computer wanted to update, and then when I restarted that, or it restarted automatically, then it kept freezing and it wouldn't do anything, so I had to hard boot it from the CPU. It was just a mess. We're ready now. I'm very low on multiple voices. Oh, lovely. This is going to be a fun time. Let's see here. Let's see. What about... That's probably... How's that? Is that better? Is that... Turn it back on. It stopped echoing a while. Okay, how's that? Am I done? Am I back to echoing? Hold on. I'll just go over here. It's fine now. What about that? Okay. Yay! Now. All good. So, let me say hi to everybody now that we're actually going somewhere. It's all good, Janice. Okay, so, welcome, Christy V, myself apparently, Janice, and Green Blazer, and John, and Wicked, and Janice, Green Blazer, Janice, Wicked, Christy. Okay. Well, hey everybody. Welcome back. We're going to continue on with this Misty landscape thing in Graphite. Okay, perfect. So let me push, let's get recording going so that at least we got that going on. Okay, so last time we did this side, I may or may not finish. Today, I don't know. We'll see how it goes and how I'm feeling and how much trouble I'm having. But for the most part, there's not a lot to do. This side is going to be basically exactly the same as what we did over here. So I might go through it really quick and then just completely finish it off stream, but just to get you back into a reminder of how to do this. Hey Steve, welcome. You missed all the excitement, but we're good. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this path. This path, because it's perspective, okay, our slats, our wooden slats, are wider down in the foreground than it is closer to him, because as he gets farther away, the gaps between the slats get closer, and then they eventually just disappear. So when you're thinking about perspective, that's something you do need to think about on water, slats, wood, anything like that. That gets closer the farther away it goes to where eventually it just disappears. So we'll start with the slats. And I'm starting with my 2H pencil. And I'm defining some of these a little bit. Now if you look at the reference, you'll notice that there are some that there's gaps, especially once you start getting farther in. You only see parts of it. So we're going to work on that. Did anybody get any, are you guys following along, or did you get any additional work done? How far did you guys get on this? And what kind of exciting things happened to you this past week? I really got nothing exciting here, so. Oh, well, I guess that's not true. Monday, I ended up at that was this Monday, right? Wow, that was a really long week.
Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yeah, Sunday night, Monday morning. I ended up going to the ER taking Tim to the ER. He was in a lot of pain with his ankle. Don't know what he did. They're saying gout, but we wonder if that's actually the case. But, so that was fun. We got up at 2:30 and went to the ER. So he skipped work on Monday, sick, and then we had to catch up on sleep from that. And then Tuesday, I went to my pain management doctor. And I'm going back to my pain management doctor this Tuesday to get another epidural. And that's essentially my week. So nothing super major, just living the life, I guess. I'm using the ruler to get these fairly straight lines. And yeah, that's kind of boring this week and next week. Although my mom is going to go visit her sister on Thursday afternoon, so she's not going to be home Thursday, Friday, Saturday. She's coming home on Sunday, so there's that. Again, I'm using a 2H just to get these lines in. Some of them, if you look at the reference, are a little bit darker than others, and we'll fix that as we go. Oh, thanks, Steve. Yes, finish your current drawing, most definitely. Take your time. Again, the deadline to turn this in to be featured on a live stream, have your artwork featured on the live stream or showcased or however you want to call it, is December. So, I mean, lots of time. And after my live streams are over, if you need help, just let me know, and I'm happy to help you out. Any questions you have after the fact. These lines, this path is a little tedious because there are so many lines in here, but that's okay. I'm at the turn right now, so we're gonna make that turn. So to make this turn, I'm going to make these slats on this side, on the inside turn, a little bit closer, and the ones on the outside turn a little bit farther away. And that'll get us so we're nice and straight when we hit up here. And it gets us that turn we need. And then as we turn, we're going to make our exciting olive picking and now trying to wipe up a quick husky doodle. Husky doodle?
Husky poop?
Maybe. Okay, now that we made the turn, I'm going to make these just a little bit closer together. And up here is where it skips a bit. So if you're just a little off with your lines, it's not that major of a deal. You can just skip it a little bit. Let's see, there's a really dark one right up here somewhere, so we'll put that in. And I think I'll just let the other ones be. Inktober prompt. Oh, that's right. Husky is one, isn't it? What is today? Today's the 6th. So the 6th is Husky. Okay. And tomorrow is Enchanted. Nice. Yeah, I'm not doing Inktober this year. I got the prompts and I like the prompts, but I don't know, I just couldn't bring myself to hop on that bandwagon, especially with everything going on with Tim and myself with our health and whatnot. So I'll watch everybody create theirs and enjoy their creations. You guys have had some really good ideas, like really, really good. Did a husky yesterday and pencil got mixed up and then had to do freeze, so today I have to do well, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just think of it as planning ahead. That's what we'll go with. You're planning ahead. Okay, so I'm looking at my reference and I'm just picking out some of these slats that are a little bit heavier on the line, because I am going to go through here and lighten some of them up. I just received my art shipment yesterday, and the item I'm most wanting to get at is graphite powder. I think for a large area to cover, this is best option for all graphite drawing. Yes and no. It depends upon how you work. I don't typically use graphite powder. Sergio uses graphite powder a lot, but he's banned from using graphite powder on this one because he uses it all the time. So he banned himself from using graphite powder on this. So that is one of the stipulations in the guidelines for this challenge. Is no graphite powder. Great. Okay, I'm going with my 2B. I'm going to darken up a few of these lines. I'm not necessarily going all the way across because you'll see how it fades in and out. Does Sergio have a stream? No, he does not. He just does his little thing without recording. So he does not stream. And he is working in the evenings or afternoon shifts for the past 2 days. So he might hop on a little bit later. But, because it's, what, 8:30 there for him. So he might hop on maybe in another hour or so. Depending on what time he gets off. I'm not sure if he gets off at 9 or what. Again, I am skipping parts and just kind of doing little bits and pieces here and there. Not too worried about it being perfect. It doesn't have to be exact, just so you know that it's... And I'm going to blend all this out with my blending stump as well, so it'll kind of smear all of it more or less, and then I'll pull out some highlights and then put in any additional details in the slats, and then we'll be good to go. Let's see, this one here goes right about there. And that one is right across from the tree, which is right about here. Oh, thank you, Janice. Yeah, you guys know how it drives me nuts to, number one, start another project without having one finished. And then to have one just sitting here, not being finished, also drives me a little batty. So it's a little frustrating not being able to finish this piece like I normally would, but I also want you guys to learn from it, so it's perfectly fine. It's just getting used to doing it. It's just taking, I guess, getting used to it. Just using what graphite is left on my stump to pull some on over. Okay, he does have a little bit of a shadow that comes off him. So I'm going to put that in first. I'm going to make it a little bit darker than it's going to end up being. The reason for this is I am going to be lightening a lot of this back here up. So I want to make sure, let's see, that goes to that tree, which is right about there. So I want to make sure that I keep his, so that goes to that little thing, which is right about here. And then that goes to that line, which is right there. I'll make sure I keep his shadow. And then I'll lighten it up here in a minute. This area here is very dark. Well, not very dark, but darker. And this kind of fades into some white. But you can see just a little bit of the edge. So we're going to follow this edge down just a little bit. And again, we'll lighten that up. Then this edge is actually created by... Hey, Jelena, welcome! This edge is created by the grasses on the side. You don't really see much of the path, so to speak, but it is there. To where this one's actually a shadow on the path, and this side is actually by the grasses and area over here. There's one little line that kind of goes there. And then we have his shadow, which I'm going to put in with my blending stump. There is a gap here, so I'm going to be sure to preserve that. I'm doing this now so I don't get lost when I remove some of this and blend some of this out. Hey Sergio, how's it going? Oh, you can't be. Okay, I don't know how late you were working. I'll probably be on here for a couple, 3 hours, so if you're done, when you get done working, if you want to watch on your way home or something. Okay, I'm going in with my 2H and I'm putting my shadow on the side, from the side of the pathway here. Now keep in mind I did not put the foliage and stuff over it. I'm going to do that after the fact. Okay, there is kind of a highlight. It comes down like this. And then it comes off. It breaks here, but then it comes off right about here somewhere. So we'll skip that area. Awesome, yes. If you're going to be done in about an hour, I will probably more than likely still be here. Love to have you join in if you can. And then it kind of fades off into the foliage down here. And then the foliage kind of makes up for it here. If you guys have any questions, whether it's related to this or not. Hey Kaomi, how are you? Hope you are doing well. Okay, he kind of has a bulge in his pants. Okay, that sounded wrong. Right here, and then it comes back out like he's wearing boots, I think. And then this area of his foot here is quite dark because it's a shadow under his foot because he's starting to lift his foot up. So I'll put that in. So I put the general shape in. Now I'm kind of refining the shape and the creases and all of that in his pants. I'm going to dab it afterwards to make sure that it's pushed back so it looks like he's walking in the fog. But I got to get the detail or the shape right first. And his foot goes a little bit up like so. He's taking a step. Notice I'm holding my pencil very far back. Let's see, do you use clutch pencils? I do not know what clutch pencils are or if it's a brand, so I'm going to say no. I'll write that down and look it up, however. Okay, let's see. Showed some friends of my art streams and Facebook pages. I didn't realize you and Tim were top-notch Yes. Oh, thank you. Tim was also an instructor. Yes, he taught baking and pastry as well for a little while. Yes, so he was an instructor and he also worked out in the industry for a little bit. He's no longer doing that though.
The clutch pencil stays the same size over this time
time as the lead is used.
Oh, got it. No, I don't usually use clutch pencils. I do have some. Somewhere. So I do have one. It has my blue lead in it, my non photocopy. So it doesn't pick up when you photocopy it. So I have my blue lead in that. I do have some with regular, or I have regular lead to put in it, but I just don't. County says, I'm okay, not finished with Amy in time for my son's immigrating. Had no sleep, so don't want to ruin it. Yeah, you need your sleep in order to do art. And definitely don't want to ruin it. You've already put time into it. So definitely, I'm sure he's going to appreciate it whenever he gets it. So it's unfortunate it didn't get done before he left, but I'm sure he'll like it whenever he does get it. So I can't wait to see it done. I'll probably try a watercolor portrait. I don't know if it's going to be this week. It's either going to be next week or the week after, I think. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. This kind of has a weird foot. Like it comes out and then it comes... Like what is that? We'll go with that. I feel this is just a little bit long, so I'm going to shorten his crotch a little bit here. There we go. He doesn't really have a head because it's too far out, and that's going to be hidden anyway. And then, now notice when I'm putting in the shadow on the wood, I'm going the direction of the wood, because if you notice, the shadow goes across, right? So if you put the shadow in like this, it's not going to look natural. So I'm putting the shadow in this way on the wood. Well, except for him, but he doesn't count. That way it looks natural and it goes with the wood as well. Then there's a nice little extra little something something there. Plot some of these lines just a little bit. Oh, nice. Awesome, Kiyomi. Yeah, I haven't used clutch pencils too often. I like the blue pencils when I sketch, like just sketching stuff that I'm going to use like my Copics with. But for the most part, I don't use them too often. I don't really like mechanical pencils for sketching. Okay, I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm going to blend this out again. Gonna blend his shadow as well. I don't want to lose the shape of it, but I am going to blend it. So number one, I'm picking up value to throw in here, and number two, it softens it. And then I'll soften it again with the eraser. I want to make sure he's nice and soft as well. One tone. Autocorrect is lame. I agree. Are you doing live stream using charcoal? Jelena, I can, yes. I was thinking about your issue you were having. Again, if you want one-on-one, just let me know and we'll work one-on-one together as well. I was thinking about doing a charcoal after this. I'm not sure. We'll have to see what happens between now and finishing this. I have a couple of reference photos. One of them is actually a friend of mine who, their son, but we can't use that for like a tutorial. It's a really good picture though. Okay, now I'm going with my 2B. Draw like a printer. And I'm going to darken all of this up here. And I'm going to look at my reference and bring this dark across the areas that are a little bit darker, keeping that lighter highlighted area. And then there's kind of a little darker area here. How would we do the one-on-one? So we can do either a Facebook chat, video chat, and really all you would need is if you have like a computer, a camera on your computer, or even your cell phone or an iPad or whatever, as long as you have a camera, and you can, like, if you're gonna work with me at the same time, then I'll need to see how you're doing things while you're doing it. If you're going to just watch me demonstrate how I do it and then try it, and then there's lots of different ways we can do it, and we can work out what works best for you for, number one, the way you learn. And we can work on, a time, like if you want to do it on a weekend or something like that. But if you wanted me to just do a live stream of a particular project, we can pick out a project and then I can live stream it, and then you can work along that way. There's lots of ways you can do it. You just need to let me know what's going to work best for you. Actually, there's a couple of people in chat that I've done that with. Janice I've done that with, and Steve I've done that with. So you can ask them, if it helped them, or, how they went about doing it. Steve, I believe we did a couple different ones. And then I've also done quick little side tutorials too that I recorded just for them, step by step. In fact, the mouth study that I did not too long ago in Graphite, that was actually a one-on-one, step-by-step tutorial. Well, it wasn't one-on-one. It was a step-by-step tutorial that I recorded, and then I let Steve view it first. And then after he got what he needed, then I made it live, so everybody else could view it as well. Make sure that, he got what he needed out of it and he understood. So I felt confident in that it was something that everybody could learn from. So again, lots of different ways. I'm pretty flexible, so I know I believe you're 6 hours ahead of me. So, you know, I can always get up early, or I wouldn't be staying up late because you would be sleeping, but again, whatever works. I am flexible. Okay, I'm going to take some, since I have a lot of graphite on this area here isn't quite dark enough. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some of this vegetation over here, just to build up. Pull some out over here. And looking at how this is going, I think I probably will try to finish this today. It's 7 p.m. here in the UK. Yeah, see, it's going on 2 here. So you're actually 5 hours ahead. Okay, I just had, there it is. My Kneaded Eraser was being a Chrissy Kneaded Eraser and hiding from me. Okay, so to make this, even though he kind of looks faded already, he's still a little bit too dark for what it needs to be. So I'm going to take my Kneaded Eraser and I kind of flattened it. And then I'm going to just tap to lighten him up. And I'm losing some of this definition in his arm right here. This arm gap. There we go. And I'm going to do the same with this area here. Just tapping, lining up the different areas. Looking at his shadow here, lightening that up a bit. I can put it back in if I need to, really lightening up this far area up here. Can make it a little bit darker if needed, but I don't think it's necessary right now. Now I'm going to take my Tombow mono eraser, and you can use this. You can just go like this. In fact, I'll use this right now to show you. You can just use this, put it in like a thin line right here, and then just go over your lines here. Go in the same direction as your wooden slats and create those interesting textures. Hey, Janice. All good. So this kind of gives it that wet looking appearance as well. There's a nice little wet looking area right here. And again right here. Okay, I'm going to take my 2B, I suppose. And I'm going to start defining some of these lines in the slats. Paying attention to the reference. Looking where my shadows are. I'm going to pull those back out through some of this. Again, I'm just using my reference as a guide, kind of getting an idea of how to make these different textures in the wood, but not being so specific like this slat has to be the dark one. It's really not that detrimental. Jelena, oh my gosh, not even one? Like, no eraser, no nothing? Nothing and nothing? Like nothing. Zero? So are you guys saying that if you can get your hubby to buy it, then it doesn't count that you bought it? I might have to try that one. Mm-hmm. He said mm-hmm. I'm liking that thinking though.
I'm sure you are.
You know, I saw a post the other day, and whenever this lady went to like Walmart or someplace that sold gift cards, she would buy some gift cards to like different restaurants and whatnot. And then when he's like, well, what do you want to do for dinner? She's like, well, why don't we go out? He's like, oh, well, we need to save money. And she's like, oh, hold on, I think I have a gift card. So she had gift cards, so it didn't seem like they were spending their own money. I'm like, yeah, no. That would not cool, but kind of funny at the same time. You guys are so funny. Supplies are supplies, in my opinion. Art, craft, it doesn't matter. They're still supplies. Hey, Chandri, welcome. Can I make this over here a little bit darker? I'm using my 2B pencil. Going across right there. I'm going to leave that one white. And I'm going to go across right here. Okay, I'm going to take my 4B. And on these darker slats, I'm just going to pull out some of these darker lines. That'll help raise it up just a little bit so it's not so flat. Again, notice I'm not going all the way across, just a little line here and there. This helps raise it up. I'm trying to be a little bit looser with this. I'm not too worried about it too much. Uh-oh. Do a little bit of dark right in here. And right there. Very lightly though. I'm not pushing real hard. I'm going very, very lightly. Take my blending stump and blend that out just a little bit. Soften this edge. Going all the way across just to even this out. I'm still maintaining his shadow. Notice you can still see a shadow. So I still want to maintain the shadow even though I'm bringing the value across. Okay, so before I get more into finishing this part, I want to get the values over here so I have a better judge of what needs to be lighter. I'm pretty sure this is going to need to be lighter. I'm pretty sure this is going to need to be lighter. And I'm pretty sure this is going to need to be darker. But before I get into that, I want to make sure that I get some of these trees and stuff in. And I'm going to start with my blending stump just to get these miscellaneous larger branches in. I think kids now, when you like it too, they feel it. And my opposite me doesn't even handle pieces. Okay. Using very light pressure. I'm just using the graphite that's on my blending stump just to tone this, make sure my shapes are pretty good. Then I'll go in with my pencils here in just a minute. Just getting the darker branches in. There's another one that goes kind of off to the side right here. Okay, I'm going in with my 2H, if I can find my 2H. Put in some of these branches here. These are very faint. Let's see, this branch here is a little bit on the darker side. So the branches that I'm going to put in that are coming off this way are lighter than this, but darker than this. So in reference to depth of field, they're in between these branches that I'm going to be putting in are actually in between these branches and these branches as far as when you're walking down the path. So you would hit these branches first, then you would hit these branches, and you hit these over here. So we're going to try to get that depth of field by creating the correct value. And that's how we get that depth of field, is the different values. I'm going to try to be a little bit looser with these. I don't want to be too rigid because it's going to make it look unnatural. This is not exactly my forte, but you know, I've been working on it. I've been working on it. Thank you, Kami. Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and try to finish this up today. And then I'll come up with another project. I have a long list of projects. Jelena, contact me and let me know what you want to do. As far as a charcoal piece. And maybe we'll tackle that next. I'm not sure yet. And also, Jelena, make sure you tell me what times are good for you, because I try to make my live streams, like the person that requests it or requests those particular studies or skills or whatever, I try to make the live stream on the days and times that they're most able to join in, so that way if they have questions, because this was something that, or a challenge that Sergio came up with. He said more than likely this is the best time for him. So that's why it ended up being the times that it is. Well, he had to work. I knew that would happen. We knew that would happen, but And don't forget, your branches make Ys, so you want to try to get those Ys in there. And then we're going to, these are farther back, so they are lighter in value. And there's a light, larger one here, and then we have some light ones again. Okay, then there's a little bit darker one right in here. I'm going to go back over these darker ones with my 2B pencil, but right now I'm working with my 2H just to get the main branches in, and a few of the light ones in the back. Again, you can put as many branches as you want. If you want not very many, then don't put as many that are in the reference. I'm not trying to be exact. I'm just trying to put in some of these shapes. There's a very thick, lighter layer of branches in the back, so when I make these other ones darker, they will be pushed back. I am going to blend them out a little bit to soften them. There are a ton of branches over here. Just looking to see where these branches end. Make them very light in this area. Hey Tessa, welcome. So glad you could drop by. Just gonna finish up this little graphite piece today. Again, trying to get these back wider branches in. That is a lot of branches. I agree. It's a buttload of branches. So it's still really hot here. Like, it's supposed to, like, hopefully not reach the 90s this week. We'll see. It's just too hot. Okay, and then from here, let's see. That one has a bunch down here, but we're working on this here. So from here, we have one that kind of comes up. And then this one here. Has quite a few branches that come off. Again, these are lighter branches, so I'm just putting in the lighter ones now. This one. Why are you so jealous? We have 15. Oh. Well, you know, I would like it to be a little bit cooler. Like, I don't want, like, freezing weather, but it's just too hot here. We have really bad humidity. So it could be, like, 87 degrees, but it feels like 100 because the humidity is so high here. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. Okay, and then down here by this curve, there's a nice little branch that kind of flares off. And then down here, okay, down here is, let me make this darker so we can see the tree trunk, because it's a darker tree trunk anyway. Then we have this branch that kind of comes up and grows that way. This tree has a couple of offshoots actually. And it just comes right up there. Oh, Steve, you're so funny. 12 feet of sunshine. I mean, it's true, but it's still funny. The way you put that. Okay, I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm going to soften some of this up here. Add some of that misty looking appearance with the graphite that's already on my blending stump. And I am going to darken up these the darker branches. I'm going to lightly go over this with this blending stump just to drop off and tone the paper just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take this graphite that's down here on the darker area of the stump and blend it out so it softens. And blends the edge just a little bit. The farther back your subjects are in mist, the less definition you see, so you don't need those hard edges, you just need the softer edges. Kind of going in oval motions so I don't get start and stop points. Similar to what you do in colored pencils. Okay, now I'm going to take my 2B.
Or not 2B.
That is the question. I'm going to darken up these mid branches, these mid color or value branches with my 2B. Notice they do kind of fade when they come out farther. They do fade a little bit into the mist, so you don't want to go dark all the way across. Look at your reference and see kind of how they're formed within the mist. Because number one, they're not all the same value all the way across. It's varying degrees of value. See here, this kind of goes. Al's calling.
Oh, you got him.
What, Adam's calling?
Hey, what's up? Not too bad. How you doing?
How about you go downstairs and continue on with that conversation?
Sounds like yeah. Yeah, she's doing that. I'm working on a model.
Okay. Then you kind of see how this is bringing this forward, but it's starting to get that nice depth, different depths that we're getting. Just making this a bit darker. Again, using my 2B. This is where values are really important. And knowing how to use your the grades of your pencil. Thank you, Chandri. Lots of little sticks or branches or something along those lines. Let's see here. There's another one that kind of comes out right in here. And this comes down. Okay, and then I wish I could take part in Black Friday this year, but unfortunately, we don't have the funds this year. Because they have some amazing deals on art supplies during Black Friday. But what prompted you to stop being a pastry chef and transcend? Okay, so how about we start to why I went to school. So Tim was going to culinary school, and I decided I wanted to go back to school, but he was talking about opening up like a pastry shop or something like that. I said, well, okay, are you for sure going to do this? Because if you're not for sure going to do this, then I'm going to go to school for something else. But if you are for sure going to do this, then I didn't want him to have to, you know, do everything on his own. Like, I wanted to help out and stuff like that. He's like, no, I want to do this. I'm like, all right. So I went to school for baking and pastry. And then when he was almost done, he decided he did not want to do baking and pastry because he once he started working out in the industry, he started realizing like what it really entails and how, I mean, it's not that he didn't know it was hard work, but like you don't get paid and it takes a lot. It's just a lot. It's really hard on your body. I mean, if you're younger, then, you know, it's not too bad, but being that we're a little bit older, he didn't see the point of working as hard as he was for basically pennies. That's basically what he was getting paid. So, I said, well, I'm almost done now, so I'm going to go ahead and finish. So I finished my degree, and I got an associate's in baking and pastry. Well, while I was going to school for that, I also took, I had like electives to take, and I took a full load the entire time I was in school. So I was taking 6 classes a semester for 3 years. And I even took summer semesters and mid semesters and stuff like that. So I was taking the maximum amount I could every time I took a class. So I had a lot of extra classes that I took. So I took drawing. And that's how I learned, or when I learned that, oh, I can actually draw something. Because I had no idea that I could draw. And then I took a couple other classes. I took like an Illustrator class. I took a Photoshop class. And a couple other classes. But just until I got through that. And then I still had another semester left in my tuition. So I also became a nail tech. I got certified to be a nail tech for cosmetology and stuff like that. And I was board certified as well. I never did anything with that because I just couldn't deal with all of that. So, and then I really didn't do anything with drawing for a really long time. And then I decided, well, let's see what I can do. Like, am I going to be able to do anything with it? Can I do it and whatnot? So I started watching Lisa, which I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with Lisa from LaCree. And I started watching her, and I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. And then I watched a couple other people. I just watched videos for like a year, I think, before I even said, you know what, I can do this. Like, why can't I do YouTube? Yeah, I have to learn how to edit, but, you know, I actually was going to school briefly for video editing anyway when I was in Hawaii. So, I said, well, I'll just go ahead and do that and learn how to do that on my own. So then I'm like, well, there must be something to this. So then I started playing around. I dabbled in some oils. Really like oils. And then I just kind of built it from there. And so I said, well, I'll do a YouTube channel and, you know, join a couple forums and see what happens. And that's kind of where I'm at. I just kind of saw what happened and here I am. And I do fair for my lack of experience, but I take my time with pretty much everything I do, and I am determined just to learn. Like, and if it doesn't look like how I want, then I just keep working on it. But it seems to be turning, most of the stuff I do turns out decently most of the time. I do have my few that kind of drive me a little bit crazy, but you know. So that's kind of how this whole thing started. And when I was in school, no matter what I was taking, whether it was art or pastry or whatever, everybody always came to me and asked questions. And I seemed to always somehow have the answer, or I'd look up the answer or something along those lines. And they said, you should really teach. And I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know. Because apparently I put things in a way that are easy to understand, except for when I can't talk. But, you know, sometimes words are hard, but so when I actually started my YouTube channel, 2 years ago? 3 years ago. I don't even know when I started my YouTube channel. I'd have to look it up. I had only done maybe a handful of pieces, and I was learning how to do color pencil on my stream. If you go back, or on my channel, if you go back and look at my Coke project and stuff like that, that was my first color pencil piece. So I like a challenge, so when I learn something, I try to pick some of the hardest things to do and the things I want to learn. And then I just go for the challenge and try to do that. And I wanted to learn realism. I found abstract to be a little difficult for me to grasp, but I think now I'm past that block and I want to learn it, so I'm trying that as well. I believe it's important to take your time in drawing. That's one of the hardest things for me to get through my thick head. The other is values. Yeah, so even Will tell you, and he said it a few times on his stream, that what you make up, or what you lack in experience, if you take your time and don't rush, you can make up for with taking your time like that. Sure, there's still things you need to learn, but you can make up for a lot just by taking your time. And so I'm a fairly slow, except for graphite. Graphite I can finish in a reasonable amount of time typically, and charcoal too. But I'm a reasonably slow artist compared to a lot of people that have been doing it a long time. I haven't been doing it that long, guys. Like, I'm just really good at watching somebody do things and then kind of creating my own way to do it, basically. Or trying their way, and then if it doesn't work for me, I create a way that does work for me. I think she should teach. I think I'm teaching. And one of my teachers told me there comes a time when you need to stop being the student and just start creating. So, and I took that to heart. And even though I am creating more, I'm still learning as I create. So, to a point, that is correct. But instead of just taking it all in and learning, and not really creating, because until you apply what you're learning, it's not going to do you any good anyway, right? So if you can't do or apply what you're learning, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't apply what you're learning, then what good does it do just to be book smart? I mean, you can answer questions, but that's about it. Okay, I'm going back in with my 2H. I'm filling in these lighter branches in here. You guys are very kind. Thank you. Can you kind of see where these branches now are kind of in between these dark ones and the ones in kind of the mid-ground? I mean, these are mid-ground. Well, they're kind of mid-ground, foreground. They're kind of in between. This is definitely foreground. This is a mid-ground, foreground. And then this is a mid-ground. And then this is mid-ground going into the background. But the background's actually way back there. So you can kind of see where, and I need to make these darker because I need to bring them forward a little bit, because as you see, if you look here, this appears far closer than this one. So because this appears closer, that means I need to bring this, I need to increase the value of this. So I'm going to increase the value of this one. I'm just using my 2H, and I want to go too dark with it, especially since it fades farther back as you get farther up the trunk. Hey, Chrissy. It's all good. Well, welcome. Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me do this in Chrissyism. Hey, Chrissy. Welcome. I have to repeat. You know how I am. Selena says, what I find is great. We all help each other with learning art. It's fun, and there is no mine is better than yours. Sharing techniques is just wonderful. Exactly. That's exactly right. I love watching everybody's journey. You guys, I mean, so okay, I'm just going to stop this for a second, and seriously, you guys have kept me motivated. Um, a lot of people say, you know, oh, you have such passion for this. I don't have passion for this, guys. I don't. It's just something that I enjoy doing every once in a while. And I've been through some really rough times this year. And if it wasn't for you guys and you guys checking in on me and talking to me here and there and stuff like that, I don't know where I'd be this year. I don't. Okay, so I want to thank each and every one of you, seriously, because your guys' support has definitely helped me not only grow artistically, but also just grow this year and start, you know, working on myself. And I really, really appreciate that, guys. Seriously. Okay, enough mushy. Now we're going to go on with the tutorial. But seriously, I can't thank you guys enough. Many of you check up on me and make sure I'm okay, and yes, I so appreciate that. Okay, so back to this. So now I'm putting in all of these little tiny branches. There is quite a few in here. I'm trying to make them a little bit lighter. I don't want them as dark. And if I do want them a little bit darker, I can use this pencil to get those almost darker ones. Because most of the really dark ones are pretty much already in. Oh, Janice, don't cry. It's okay. How can we thank you for all you do for us? My million questions to you all the time. You're always helpful and nice. Well, of course. We all have our own journey that we're taking, and what good is my knowledge if I'm not sharing it with you guys? I mean, great, I have it. Yay. You know, I mean, yeah, I can complete a piece or whatnot, but if I can help you guys in your journey, then that is kind of where, you know, what keeps me going as well doing art, because I want to keep learning to help you guys learn, if that makes any sense. And there's a lot of things I don't know. Like I said, I'm fairly new to the art world. It's not like I've been doing this since I was a child. I've only been doing this a short while. So, in fact, 2012? Hold on. Let's just go find out. If I can find my mouse. Let's see. Let's go to Facebook. Because I can tell you when my first drawing class was. My first drawing class was photos, albums. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you can go look at all my albums. And I looked it up. May 2012 is when I learned that I could draw. So, we're only in 2009. As I was corrected. So we're only in 2019. Hello, mouse. Thank you. So, and Chrissy, can you look on Social Blade and see when I started my channel? Since you're here and all. Unless you're on your phone. Are you on your phone? Because if you're on your phone, then don't worry about it. I can look it up. And that'll pretty much tell you when I started getting a little bit more serious with my art. I have taken quite a few breaks. And then Chrissy and I became friends, and she's kicked me in gear and kicked my butt and says, you need to start creating and enjoy the process. And I'm like, oh, fine. But I I do appreciate her butt kicks, let me tell you, because she does keep me going quite often when I don't really necessarily feel like doing it. She's like, just do something. I'm like, okay, I will do something. And then it just gets me going, and then I get all motivated again and all of that. So I can't thank Chrissy enough and her friendship with keeping me. Yes, on my phone in bed, but you don't have to. I know it's quite early for you, so... So if it wasn't for Chrissy, then, you know, again, I don't know where my art would be at this point, because she also pushes me to try new things. Like, you know, when we started doing our co-streams on her channel, you know, she's like, oh, I want to do watercolor. And I'm just thinking, oh, watercolor, really? But, you know, that's just me being unsure of the medium, because I don't work in watercolor. So it made me nervous to actually do something on stream with watercolor. I'm like, well, I don't know how it's going to be. So it made me super, super nervous, you know. And she's like, oh, let's talk about inks. And I'm like, okay, you know. And then she's like, but if you don't want to, I'm like, no. And she always comes up with these ideas. And even though I'm like a little hesitant, but it's not because I don't necessarily want to do it. It's because I'm so nervous about doing it. But, you know, the ironic thing about that is I wanted my channel to be something that people could watch. And, like, every time I watched a video on YouTube, right, everything was perfect. Like, everything was perfect. Like, their piece came out beautiful, and, you know, they really didn't show, like, their bad pieces or the mistakes. And I'm like, you know, that's kind of where I want to go with this. I want to show the bad and the good. And I kind of fell into that for a little while. You know, I'm guilty of it too. But, and I'm like, you know what? That's kind of why I wanted to start some of these live streams, because I'm learning just like you guys, right? I've never done a Misty landscape, but I'm just pulling from the knowledge that I already have of some of the pieces I've already done. And then like I showed you before, you know, I tried a few things off stream. Like I tried I tried a few things to see what worked and the looks that I wanted to get and stuff like that. So, I'm like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to do this. And that's kind of how I figured it out. It didn't take me that long to figure it out. And you guys, I'm going to show you. So I recently tried a watercolor piece, and it was an epic failure. I didn't even finish it. So because I didn't finish it, I decided to try a few other techniques on it. I really don't like this. Hold on. I am not liking this. We're going to take this out like this. We're just going to erase this. Can't deal with that. Okay. So let me grab this. Okay, so this almost made me stop trying watercolor, but then I did the fish y'all saw. But there were some good things that I ended up trying and I liked, right? So this is the Sorry piece that I couldn't even finish. I didn't like it. It wasn't going my way. There were a lot of issues with it. But then I'm like, okay, I'm going to try some things. So I tried some different techniques with the bird because I knew I wasn't going to finish it, but I wanted to see how I could do certain things. And really, that's basically all I mess. But this is a failure, guys. Okay, so no, I'm not gonna put this out like, oh, I failed this, because you know, it is what it is. It was an experiment in the end, so I'm fine with that. But I wanted to show you I do have failures. Okay, so it's a journey, and we're all on this journey. And there goes my dog going cray cray. We're all on this journey together, and you know, I learned from that particular piece some new techniques, even though I didn't finish it because it wasn't worth finishing. But I learned from that piece. And I wouldn't have learned some of the stuff I learned if I didn't, you know, experiment. Because sometimes you don't want to experiment on a piece that you're like, oh, this is going to turn out pretty good. So you don't necessarily want to experiment. Exactly. So it's not a failure, I learned. But at the same time, it's frustrating because, as you guys know, I don't typically, I mean, some pieces are better than others, just like every artist, but you know, it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow when you have something that bad in your eyes, right? And it's always in the artist's eyes. That was such an epic failure in my eyes. And some people will be like, oh no, it's not. Yes, I learned something, but you know, again, I didn't finish it because I just wasn't happy with it. But anyway, so my original thought on the channel was to show failures such as that, you know, but some of the takeaways as well. And just to show, you know, every artist is human and we all have our failures. So I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm kind of rambling. I started in 2017 on YouTube. Okay, so 2017, we're on 19 now. So January 2017. So you're talking only 2 years since I actually really started getting into doing art more on a full-time basis. During 2017, I started out strong. I took a really long break. Then Inktober hit, and we started doing the whole Inktober, and that's basically where Chrissy and I met on Will's stream when he was doing Inktober. And then I don't know, our friendship just grew, and we just talked here and there, and then we started talking more and more, and I don't know why she talked to me, y'all. But I am thankful she did, because I would not trade her for anything. She's like my sister. Let's see, for the first time recently, anytime I have an art block, I need to try a new medium to get started again. It did the trick. That's awesome, Tessa. And you know, I want to get looser with my works, so I thought watercolor is a great way to do that as well. So, that's why I've been staying more looser with my watercolor. I am going to start bringing it in a little bit. You kind of saw the fish that I just recently did, and sorry, I'm watching my dog be weird. I just recently posted my fish, and I started bringing it in, and I tried while I was doing the tutorial. I'm getting more comfortable with the watercolors and knowing more of how they're working. So I started trying different techniques during going through that tutorial. And I picked up a few new little techniques that I want to implement. So, but I was very proud that I finished that even after that last one, so it gave me a little bit more confidence again. Hi, Renata. How are you? Thank you. You have to go tell Daddy. I'm sorry. But, yeah, other than that, that's kind of where that goes. Judge goes to it's never too late to paint and draw. Exactly. Just goes to show. That's exactly right. One of my jobs, I was a process and loved fixing things and didn't need training. I fix things all the time. I do the same thing. I like to also do stuff to the house, paint and remodel and all of that too. So okay, so I don't feel like I have enough what you call it to be sticks, whatever, branches. So we're gonna go with our 2B because I have a lot of light ones, but I don't have a lot of darker ones. So I'm gonna go in with my 2B and I'm gonna make some darker branches, some thicker areas of them, or denser areas is what I should say. Oh, I can tell. Yeah, that's Felicity. She's our studio assistant number 2. She is opinionated, is what we call it. She is a gabber, and she knows how to push our buttons. Most definitely. I'm looking at the reference and I'm going through and I'm picking out some of these darker branches. And defining them a bit more using some of the branches that are already there. Softening this. Okay, this is a little bit more misty, so I'm gonna mystify this a little bit more. And up in here, I want to mystify this as well. So, in general, if you take your time and don't rush, and if something's not looking right to you, it probably is not right. And figure out, you know, just play around. How can I make this look how I want it? Whether it's directly like the reference or what you have in your mind. One thing I do have to say, that if you are creating from your imagination and you are just starting to do that, and you do not have a good vocabulary of what things are, like proportions of like faces and how the eyes line up with the nose and the mouth and all of that. If you do not have a good handle on that and can do it from memory, even though you think you can, use a reference. You don't have to follow the reference, but it's just a guide as proportions or like distance or something. Like you'll have this mountain, and even though you may not make the mountain exactly like it is, but you'll have an idea of how saturated that mountain is or how detailed to put that mountain, because maybe you want a mountain with snow, right? Well, look at it, you know, how do the shadows fall on it? So use references, guys. There's nothing wrong with using it. You don't have to copy the reference by any means, but use it for just a guide as to, you know, shadows or distance or perspective or proportions, whatever you need it for, use it. I'm serious here. And you will find that you will greatly improve your piece, all of your pieces, by doing that. Thank you, Jelena. It was misty too, but very dark outside. Well, see, I'm just creating your actual dog walk. So I'm going to darken some of these trees before I go down into the foliage down here. It's not the word I was looking for, but you know, it's the word that came out. No, this way. Darkening this up just a bit. Is Al still coming?
As far as I know.
Okay.
As far as Mom knows.
Oh. Okay, now I'm going to start working on the ground cover. Put some of these in here. Okay, so I have two mounds down here. One is quite a bit lighter than the other. And I have this nice dark area here. Daylight's kicked in here. Yes. Yes, I know. So now you're at 6:16 there now. And we have let's see, the UK goes off on the 27th. I think also like UK and Europe go off on the 27th. And then US and Canada is the first Sunday in November, which this year is the 3rd. So you have 3 weeks of being this time with us, and then we'll have to change it all and figure it out all again. Okay, so this mound right here is much darker than this one. And this one here is even darker yet. So I'm using the side of my pencil. It covers quicker, and with these lighter areas, I'm just kind of basically sketching in some of the rough terrain. It's all grass, but I want those darker areas to show. Yes, the 27th, Jelena, is when you guys change. And we are a week later than you guys. US and Canada. Well, the ones that change anyway. Okay, now I'm going in with my 2B, maybe. And then I'm going to start defining some of these darker foliage areas. It doesn't get too dark back here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my graphite that I get on my blending stump, and I will blend that out. So because I have the lighter values around here, I'm just going to start tapping in some of these darker values, being a little sketchy with them. I'm not too worried about it because I want the different little grassy areas. You're going to have a lot of darks and lights intermixed. And then once I blend it out, excuse me, then it will eventually all work out. I'm going less and less. How can I express it? Farther out, less and less. I don't know. Not going out as far. The darker I go. I missed the 4B. So 4B, because 8B is pretty dark. I'm going to put in here. I'm going to put it right here. So I'm putting the 4B in the areas that should be an 8B. And then I'm going to blend that out. And then I'll just put the 8B sparingly and then blend that out as well. And then I'll use I might use my eraser in between. My clock doesn't change. I love that winter time, but the summer sucks. Where are you located, Green Blazer? I'm sorry if you said it earlier. Are you in the States? Or question you don't have to answer if you don't want to. I always wonder whether artists who have their own YouTube channel still can enjoy creating, or does it become a chore? Okay, so that's a really interesting question, and I am happy to answer that one. Okay, so I'll go back before YouTube. So when I was stationed in Japan, in Okinawa, I learned how to pour and paint ceramics, which is where Arizona. Okay, my in-laws are in Arizona. They're in Sedona area and Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Phoenix and Sedona. Prescott. Phoenix, Prescott, and Sedona.
Yep.
All right. So back to where I was going. I learned how to pour ceramics, and that's basically where I learned how. Wait a minute, I'm missing a branch. I'm missing a tree here. And that's where I was introduced and learned a lot about color and painting with acrylics and stuff like that. Then I started doing what we call in the United States toll painting. The UK and all of that call it Trompe-l'oeil. I know I'm pronouncing it incorrect. I'm sorry, but you know, it's English. What can I say? So I started learning that. So then I learned how to shade and stuff like that on a flat surface. And my favorite is pouring ceramics. I really enjoy pouring ceramics. Anyway, so when I was there, I did a lot of craft fairs, and I enjoyed doing it. And even though I still liked doing it, it did become a chore, especially when I had to do like 10 of the same pieces. That's why I don't like doing the same thing over and over again. Tucson. Oh, nice. What am I saying? That's why I don't like doing a lot of things over and over again. And it became a chore and all that. So, I do get burned out. Even now with arting and stuff like that. And I do take a lot of breaks because of it. And this is where Chrissy comes in handy, because she kicks my butt and says, stop it and just get on with it. So that's what I do. And when I had my Patreon, I thought, okay, well, I can do Patreon. That's not a problem. But all I had time for was the 2 projects that I was doing on my Patreon for my 2 different levels and editing them. Because I did real-time voiceover. I tried different ways. I tried doing the voiceover after the fact. I tried doing the voiceover before. So for me personally, it's really hard to maintain that consistency that you need to have with YouTube to always get your videos recommended and stuff like that, because they say, you know, 2 to 3, be consistent and do 2 to 3 videos a week, and I'm like, I don't think so. That is not happening here. So I do what I can, and I take breaks, and I'm sure you guys have noticed I take a lot of breaks. So does it become a chore? For me, it does sometimes, yes. And I don't enjoy it as much sometimes, yes. And that's why I've been doing a lot of projects and following tutorials, just to get out of that humdrum of constantly trying to create something for, you know, YouTube. I stopped doing my Patreon. I'm like, oh, I have all this time. And it was really good when I stopped doing Patreon, because I got that stress out, right? But then I started doing the Zodiac series. I kept up with that for 6 months, and I was getting burned out on that. But I could still do some of the stuff I wanted to do, which was really nice. So for me, yes. Now for some people, it doesn't. Chrissy doesn't seem to get burned out as much as I do. But I mean, she has her moments too, and it's tough. It really is. Let's see. Steve says, Okinawa, gosh, you had to be bored living there. I had been there, and it was nice to visit, but so small. once you're done it all, there wasn't much to do except scuba diving. That's cool. Hey, Nee. Welcome. Steve, I was there for 6 years and I did not mind it. That's where both my children were born, so I didn't have a lot of extracurricular time anyway. So and it is pretty small, but you know, I kind of liked the atmosphere. The Okinawan people are really, really nice. And I think that some of the Americans take advantage of their hospitality and stuff, which is unfortunate, but you know, especially and for anybody that is a Marine, some of the Marines definitely did it, and some of the Navy did while I was there. There were a few Air Force, but it seemed like most of the problems stemmed from the Marines. But not that I have anything against Marines, so don't freak out on me, y'all. But I don't scuba dive. No, thank you. I know a lot of people, being in Okinawa makes me not want to scuba dive even more, because as you said, it's a big scuba diving thing there. But I saw too many people go into the chamber because they came up too fast or whatever the case may be. So you have to be really careful with that. So scuba diving's not for me, and I don't really care for all the water and fishies, and no thank you. Oh, thank you, Chrissy. Tessa, you know, okay, so commissions, that's another whole thing in itself. So commissions, I wouldn't worry so much about burnout. While yes, you will get burned out. I have no doubt in my mind that's, you know, but it's a whole nother animal, which is another reason why we stopped doing cakes. We were doing wedding cakes for a while and we stopped doing it, because then you have your customer that either, especially for art, gives you poor reference, or they change their mind, or they're not happy with the final product, or I mean, there's just so many things, right? And it's very stressful, because especially even upon who you're doing it for, if you know, if there's a backstory or something and you want to do a really, really good job and it's not turning out the way you want it, it makes it really difficult. So that's another whole animal in itself. For me, it's not as much as of burnout, but is it something? Is it a reference that I really want to do? Because I find, for me to art, I need to be attached to the reference 9 times out of 10. There are situations where I don't necessarily have to be attached to the reference, but it definitely helps with my final piece and how much time I take doing that piece and all of that. So commissions are, you know, completely different. Yes, you get burned out, but again, there's other things that are considered. Steve says, yes, the people are great there and the landscape is beautiful. I was in the Navy and only stayed 2 weeks, but I thought as nice as it was, I felt over time I would get bored. I can see that. I didn't, just because, I mean, you know, for a while there I worked, and then I did home daycare, and I just didn't have time. And then when my kids got a little bit older, they were always at one place or another, so I was always running around. So it wasn't so much boring for me because I had things that I was doing. Yeah, it was taking you so long. Oh, that's right. You don't have a passport, Chrissy. Get your passport, woman. Yeah, commissions are hard. I mean, for anyone that does them, bless you. You know, I've done one. I've only done one, right? Yeah. I've done one commission, and I vowed I would not do another one after I did that one. I didn't want to do commissions, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll take it on because it was a special circumstance and all of that, and I took it on, and while I didn't, I had to restart it 3 times. Y'all know I don't like starting things more than once, okay? But, you know, when you take on a commission, you don't have a choice. You have to finish it. It's not a matter of, well, this is not turning out well, I can stop. You can't do that, so... Okay, so we're getting in this foliage here. Now I'm going to take my eraser, and I'm using my reference as a guide to see which direction the grasses are growing to help pull some of those out. It's like this really long grass piece right here. Like, how long does the grass need to be? Seriously? We need to have one even if we don't travel. Yeah, it's becoming more and more necessary here. Like before, we used to be able to go to Canada without a passport, and that got put a stop to. And then, so if you know you're up on the states that is right next to Canada, or you want to go visit Canada, now you have to. If you wanted to go visit some, like if you're on a cruise line. In certain, depending upon where you're going, there are a lot of places you didn't have to have your passport, but now you do. Now there's a thing of what they call a real ID. So if you don't have your real ID, you can't, unless you have a passport or a passport card, you can't even fly within the United States. So it's just become a real pain in the butt to travel. I'm surprised you don't need a passport to go from state to state anymore. I mean, I'm sure that's coming. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud and give people ideas. I don't know. Okay, starting to build up some of these textures, grass textures. Jacqueline, welcome. She might be on the no-fly list. Passport won't help. Well, you have a point there, Steve. She does cause a little bit of a ruckus now, doesn't she? I'm an angel. Chrissy is the troublemaker. We know this. Let's see, Christy says, same thing happened to me with my photography. Did some senior photos for friends and they were either not happy, I wasn't fast enough getting them edited, and some never even paid me. Exactly. And, you know, that happens no matter what your profession is, photography or whatever it is. It's a problem all the time. The customer is not happy, you know, it's more of a hassle than it's worth. So I say just create. I create for me, and hopefully, you know, people like what I do, and hopefully I can teach something along the way. And every once in a while I'll get a request. Like when I did my pig watercolor, that thing wasn't even dry, and like it was sold. They're like, I want that pig. I'm like, okay. That was quick. So hearing there are also no real borders anymore. You people are so funny. Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, before there didn't used to be, but now with all the terrorism and all of that, they are cracking down here in the United States. So, I don't know. I just go with the flow, do what I'm told, do what I'm supposed to, good to go. Okay, so I'm pulling out a lot of these textures with my eraser. And then I'm going to go back in with my blending stump. I might put in some darks with my pencil first. But I'm going to go back in with my blending stump and soften this. And then put down some more value in certain areas. And then I will do this again, and that'll give a layered effect, because right now there's the value underneath and then what I'm pulling out. So in order to get that layered effect where you have different values of the different grasses, now I need to go back in. I think I'm going to start with a 2B, and I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to use the areas that, I mean, you can see the areas that are in between the grasses. So I'm going to kind of work in the, yes, I know, Chrissy, like some people that remain nameless that don't finish, yes, I will be finishing this on stream. Might do a little touch up here and there off stream, but I mean, it'll essentially be pretty close to what you see. So I'm working basically in the negative. So I'm keeping the lighter areas that I want to keep. And then I'm going to do the little spots that you see in between some of the grasses. And it's going to look a little weird at first. But once you blend it out, then it softens it. And then it'll start pushing some of that back and creating a really good texture. And again, I'm just using, like, I'm just kind of looking what the values are in the areas, but I'm using the lines that I have already established from the eraser, because it's not going to be exactly like the reference. Like this area over here is quite dark, so I'm going to make sure that these areas in between are a little bit darker. And then in here, I have some lighter areas. And then I have some darker areas. And I keep looking up because I can see better on camera, on my screen, what it's looking like, so I don't have to keep taking pictures. Because typically when I get to this point, I kind of take pictures of the different areas or the whole piece to see how it's going. And I'll do that here in a little bit and show you what I'm looking at. Tessa, now that was good. That was classic. Oh, Chrissy. You know, Chrissy, you do this to yourself. We are just stating the obvious. Okay, so something I'm noticing is I did not allow for the grasses that are laying across here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually pull those because they're pretty bright. So I'm going to pull those and they're laying across. I'm going to pull those out. Okay, now I'm going to go back in and use my 2B and kind of go around that, create the different areas within that. And like right now, okay, so what I'm seeing right now is on my reference, this area is really dark, right? And then this part is light. I want to so bad, like I am fighting the urge to go in and make this area darker on the grass side instead of on the path side, right? I am fighting that urge because that's what I want to do because that's what I'm working on. I'm like, oh, well, this isn't dark enough, but it's actually the path that isn't dark enough. So if I make this darker, that's going to look really weird, and the path is still going to be the incorrect value. So I'm just going to fight that urge. Come on in with my 8B. And there's this really dark area down in here. And right in here. Just a little touch right there. And a little touch right here. You don't have to overdo it with these darks. Okay, I'm going to take my blending stump. And this is where I'm going to start defining these again, pulling them out, darkening some of them up. Again, I'm kind of paying attention to where my lines are. Like this is a nice line right here, and I like it. And there's actually a nice long line that comes somewhere in this area. So I'm not going to go over that way. I'm going to pull it this way because if I look at my reference, this area is actually darker going this direction. But there's a small area here that is a bit darker on this side. But notice how I skipped this here. I know it's, let's see if I can pull it in just a little bit. Okay, let's see if you guys can see that a little bit better. So you can kind of see how I'm creating all these shadows and different textures. I'm going to tone this just a little bit. Now when you blend, you don't have to blend it so much that you lose all of your detail you've already erased into this. You can tone it with just a light, go over it very lightly, and it'll tone it. Okay, now that I have these darks in again, I'm going to go through, I'm going to start really paying attention a little bit more to my different values now, because I'm starting to get the layering that I want to get. Pay attention to kind of what direction the grass is laying or growing or whatever it's doing. Some of it's folded over, some of it's laying down. Okay. You can see how I'm getting this nice layered effect in here. If you find parts of it is too dark, I know this isn't too dark, but if you find parts of it's too dark, you can dab it with this. You can just lightly erase the area with this. I mean, there's different ways you can go about it. Just find a technique that works for you and go about it that way. Seeing kind of a harsh line here I don't want. Let's see, I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. So I feel, even though I still have to make adjustments here, I feel this is too light, okay? I feel like too much of the paper is showing through. It needs to have a little bit of a gray to it. So I'm going to lightly go over this area just to tone it. And if you do this with a pencil, you're not going to get the same result because you're going to have pencil lines. So you want to use something soft. You can use a tissue. You can use a non-textured paper towel or toilet paper roll. Just make sure it's non-textured because otherwise you'll get like weird specks in it. But I like to just use this on its side. I feel like I have quite a bit of control that way. Okay, that toned it much, much better. And you can make it as foggy as you want. If you want this to be a little bit more foggy, put some more value down and then lift up with your eraser and it'll kind of look more like a cloudy fog instead of a smooth fog. Get rid of all of these. Okay, I'm going with my 2B. This is by far nowhere near dark enough. So we'll just go ahead and darken this up. And just like I did on the opposite side, I'm just going to keep building this up, blending it out, putting more lines with my, or pull out more lines with my eraser, dab with my eraser if I need to. It's basically just a back and forth until you get it how you want it to look. And this is where patience comes in. Excuse me. This is where you see that end. The end is in sight, but you're just not quite there yet. So you have to be patient enough to muddle through this part. Because you're like, you want to be done. I know you want to be done, but this going back and forth, does it look okay this way? Yeah, it looks okay. But is this the look that I'm going for? Not exactly. Okay, going in with my 4B. Working in some of these darker areas. Again, just making adjustments that I'm seeing. Time to go to bed for me. Bye, y'all. See you. Okay, Tessa, thank you for dropping by. Really appreciate it. Darkening everything up. Okay, that's getting closer to where we need to be. So we'll pull out some of these little details. Again, you can use your other eraser. You can use your kneaded eraser. Just make a nice thin edge like so. And then you can just pull them out. It works just as well. You do need to knead it a little bit more often. So it still works. Don't feel you have to get the Tombow mono eraser. And I also like to use the dirty eraser to my advantage because it won't take as much off. So when I first knead it, it's very clean, so it will take brighter areas off. And then as it gets dirtier, I go into the darker areas so it doesn't take as much off. Taking my 4B again, toning some of these darker areas again. Again, back and forth, back and forth. And some people won't work in this manner. You can watch other people work in different manners. This is just how I have figured out how to do this particular technique, or make it look how I want it. 4B again, making this corner dark. Remember, there's more than one way to do things, so my way is not the one all be all. I can give you my suggestions and my techniques, and it's your job to figure out, okay, what can I take from that to, number one, make it my own, and number two, what techniques can I take from that to create a piece and have the appearance that I want it to have. And that's kind of where it's all at, is, and how you create your own style is you watch people, you learn and try different techniques, you keep what you like, you disregard what you don't like, and then eventually you will have a recognizable style. Okay, so I'm using my dirty eraser to my advantage here. And I don't want this to be too light. So I'm just going to use the dirty side to pull just a little bit up. And then here is kind of light, so I'm going to turn it over and use my light clean side. And if I want to clean it off, I just wipe it. I can also rub it on my pants, and I'll clean it off as well. Okay, so I'm going to do a lot of this off because I don't think y'all want to sit here and watch me go back and forth with this. It's going to be probably another half hour, 45 minutes to keep going back and forth till I get the look I want. So I'm going to make my adjustments here. So let me pop you back out. Wrong direction. Seriously, Wendy, wrong direction. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to make my adjustments along here. So now that I have this in, I can better judge my value here. I see that this part is too light. This part's not too bad. Let's see. I need a little bit more texture, wood texture down here, or slat texture. So I'm going to start with my 4B apparently, because that's what I picked up. And I'm going to, nuggets. I'm going to look at my reference and see where these darker areas are. And I have a nice little thing that comes out like so. Again, I'm going with this direction of the slats. I'm doing the same thing on this side. Okay, now I'm going to look and see which slats need to go all the way across. This is great technique. I can see a lot of depth for me. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth, because the closer you are, the more detail you want, clearly. And the farther back you are, the less detail you want, but also we're dealing with the fog, fog. So it's kind of fun, right, to create. And trying to get my footstool. This is where learning values is really, really important, because if you don't have these values, you're not going to get this depth to where this looks like it's disappearing into the fog, right? So your values have to be, they don't have to be spot on, but this is where understanding values, how they work in depth and stuff like that. So this was an excellent reference to be able to teach that. And that's one of the reasons I decided to do this project on live stream. That way you guys can ask questions, and I haven't really seen a lot of, like, yes, people talk about value and whatnot, and the same goes with color too, okay? This doesn't just apply to graphite. If you can learn value in graphite, you can transition over to color quite easily with values. There's that dark and there's that dark. I'm going to use my 2B. Ruler. So on some of these, I do want the line to go straight across and almost all the way across. So I am using the ruler to get it straight and dark enough. And I'm just going over the lines that I already put in there earlier. Looking at the reference, seeing where I need more definition for these lines. Keeping in mind my perspective, so my slots need to be closer up here. Yes, I know I already put a bunch of these in, but I'm doing it again because we need some more definition on some of these. Lighten my pressure as I go. Gonna darken up the shadow again just a little bit. Blend out the shadows. That's not what I want. I went too far on my line, so I'm going to get rid of that. Tone that back. Good to go. That's one cool thing about graphite is it's fairly forgiving. This is creating a really nice wood texture on top of what we're doing here, so that's even more of a plus. Okay, so I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and now I'm going to lightly go over some of these lighter areas. Being careful not to go over the shadow area too much. It's fine to do a little bit because you do see in the reference that it isn't straight across, but you don't want to lose his shadow all the way. Okay, let's see what else can I do here. Let me do just a little bit more on here. It's 4:09 right now. Been streaming for 2 hours, so I'll go ahead and do a little bit more detail down here. Taking my Tombow mono eraser and creating the different grasses. And yes, I choose this over the kneaded eraser just because it's, for me, it's easier. But as I showed you, you can do it with it. For me, it just takes a little bit longer. But there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, I'm finding that this right here is a little too dark, so I'm going to lightly erase this harsh line right here. And you can kind of see a line here, so I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm just going to go over it and it's all gone. And then to lighten that up, I'm just going to dab it. Go. I think this needs to be just a bit darker. And then I'm going to create just a little bit more texture. Can darken up some of these tree trunks as well. go. And going in with my 8B, darkening up. Again, using my shapes that I already have created with the eraser. Making a few adjustments here. Did you feed them?
Mm-hmm.
Taking my little blending stump. Smoothing that out a little bit. I'm choosing the little one right now because it's not going to blend out as far as the larger one. So I can keep it in certain areas and I can get into smaller areas to pull some of the darker values in. Okay, just a few more little things here. And then we have some things that come across on here. So we want to put the foliage that comes up over, because clearly it's going to grow over. So we want to put some foliage that grows up over. I have some lighter foliage that comes up, so I'm going to put that in. And then I'm going to thin it out just a little bit here. Where's that 8B? Let's see, let's do the 2B. Make this a little bit darker. And then there's some that comes up over here. And there's really none that comes up over here. It's more over here. So I'm not liking the fact that there's not more texture here. There needs to be more texture. So we'll just put that in. And that is about it. Let me see here. Where can I sign this? Let's sign it. Actually, that's not about it. I'm going to do a little bit more. This needs to be a little bit darker. So we're just going to go in with the 8B. Probably you're going to want to do this with the 4B. I just happen to have this in my hand. And then I'm going to take my blending stump and blend that out, because you'll notice it's darker near the foreground or near the ground, and then it fades as it goes up. Thank you. I'm going to just tap it just a little bit to get the darkest part. This is where if you did it with a 4B, you wouldn't have to tap, but you know. So if you happen to pick up the wrong pencil, that's okay. Just tap it. See how it pushes it back just a little bit? It takes off that really dark layer. There we go. Okay, I'm going to sign right here. This is October. And that is about it. And oh my goodness, you were fast. I don't know, it wasn't that fast. So that is that. I may do just a little touch up here and there after the stream, but not too much. It's not going to be that noticeable. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. It's a very nice misty type landscape. I think that overall it was a success as far as creating the mist and whatnot. So it was a fun experiment. I hope you guys try it. If you do, make sure that you send it to me so I can put it in the showcase in December. Remember, the deadline is December 20th. I will post a reminder as it gets closer. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I also hope that you got some tips to use. Again, if you guys need any help with anything, not just this piece, but whatever, feel free. Challenge is done. Exactly right. Feel free to write me, email me, text me, whatever you want to do, and I'm happy to help you guys. I have no problems with that. And it may end up being even a live stream like this, depending upon what you guys need. And if it's going to be beneficial for a lot of people, then I will definitely do a tutorial, whether recorded or live like this. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining, and I hope you enjoyed this piece. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And until next time, I do not know when I'm going to stream again. It will be soon, I promise. And hopefully I'll get a video up soon too. But I'll come up with another project and we can do another one together if you guys want. If you have any suggestions, make sure you leave it down in the comments. Thanks everyone, and I appreciate your help and all of your suggestions and all of your support. Talk to you later. Bye guys.